Hello, my most beautiful friends. How are you? I hope you are amazing and that everybody's doing well. I have missed you guys. It's been a minute. I have been pretty sick with some kind of respiratory thing since I got back from London, and I'm just now, in the last couple of days, starting to feel better. So it's been good times, and I haven't really done very much in the way of talking or videos because I've not really been able to talk very much without coughing. So, yay, for feeling better. Well, hey, I miss you guys, and I wanted to ask you guys about something because I got an email about this, and I've actually sent out an email about this, I think last year, got quite a number of responses, but now I'm actually looking at it quite seriously, and that is, does anyone want to go to London with me? Now, let me clarify what I'm talking about. I got an email about this just, I think this morning or yesterday. So I'm like, hey, I need to go ahead and answer questions and everything. Okay, so first, when I go to London, I am going typically, if it's just me or me and a friend, or me and two friends, we're going for ministry, and we might spend a couple extra days there. It's kind of necessary with the jet lag and the time zone difference because there's a 5-hour time zone difference, and it can be quite brutal on the body, plus an overnight flight, which can also be brutal, especially if you have a crying baby next to you, which I had. Ask me how I know. Anyway, so there's a difference between the people that I'm taking on my ministry team that I take to London with me and people who just randomly ask, or even our ministry partners or whatever, hey, can I go? And that difference is when I'm going just me, I'm going in, I'm going out, even with the extra day before or after or whatever, I'm getting there, I'm acclimating my body, I'm ministering, and I'm flying home. But people have asked me, hey, can I go? And these are people that are not necessarily on my ministry team, but they might just be partners or friends, of the ministry. And people are interested in going. Well, okay, so when people are interested in going like that, typically it's because they're actually interested in seeing some of it, not just fly in, do Bible study, fly out. And so, my answer to that is I would be thrilled if there are enough people who actually have this interest. I would be thrilled to get up at a group like that. I did one in 2023. We had 18 people that went, but they were all from my ministry team. But, the majority of those paid their own way, me and my staff. We raised the money, and most people did, just pay their own way. But that trip was, I forget how many days of ministry, like 3 days or something of ministry. And then we had days before and after for fun stuff, tourism stuff, checking out the history, because of course in the UK, they have crazy old, amazing history that we don't have here in the States, right? So, at least not like in modern culture. So we don't have, the castles, we don't have the battlefields, we don't have the museums, we don't have, the treasures of ancient Egypt, we don't have, the royal family and the crown jewels, we don't have the history going back, to, thousands of years. We don't have that. And I hate that we don't have that, but I'm really glad that the UK does. So anyway, when people are asking me, hey, can I go with you? And they want it to be like, it's kind of like a bucket list trip, a list of life goals that they're really interested in going to see in order to see the things like some castles and some palaces and museums. Like one of my favorite museums that I've been to in the UK is the Churchill War Rooms, right in Westminster, right downtown in London, where they have everything from the bunker, the World War II command center that was underground, and it's still set up there. And it's like they left it, like as soon as the war ended, World War II ended, or the Second World War, if that's what you call it, the people just got up and they left, and everything is still there. The secret coded phones and the machines and the maps and the troop maps and the, like everything is still there and preserved into this amazing museum. that's one of my favorite museums, but I've been to a whole bunch, and there's so much to see. So people really want to, typically when they're saying, hey, can I go? If it's somebody that's not on my ministry team and they just want to go, it's usually because, yeah, I mean, they want to do the Bible study, absolutely. But also people want it to be like a once in a lifetime thing. And a lot of people are not really accustomed to traveling by themselves, especially not internationally, and especially not where the culture is so different and the way of life is so different. So like here in the States, we have such a huge area of geography. We drive everywhere, we park everywhere. We're used to all these things, many places, not all places, but many places don't have a clue how to navigate something like a train system, the London Underground, that kind of thing. It's just not common here. So your big cities will have similar things, like Chicago has the L, or is it Boston? I think Chicago has the L and Boston has the T, if I've got that right. Atlanta has a MARTA system. Miami has an elevated train system, but there just aren't very many. Most of the time, we're not used to that here in the States. So people want to go somewhere where but with somebody that they feel safe with, that they knows the area and how to get them around. And honestly, if I'm talking to an American who is not used to London and the way things work, I would never tell you to go by yourself the first time, because it is so totally different. And there is there are a lot of things that you need to know to stay safe and everything. Traveling anywhere in Europe, I mean anywhere in the world really, but anywhere in Europe as well. So including, the UK is part of Europe. So anyway, people often want to do not only a Bible study time, but also a bucket list trip to see some of these things. Westminster Abbey, things like that Buckingham Palace, that they've wanted to see for years and years. And so my answer is yes. Now here's the thing. For a trip like that, and by the way, if I did this for a trip like that, I would be your tour guide, because I am extremely passionate about that kind of thing. I have studied British history since I was about 14 or 15 years old. I mean, like intensely studied it. So I'm 45 now. So this is a huge subject of mine that I'm passionate about. Okay. So we would be talking about William the Conqueror and what happened in 1066 and how did all that happen, and how did these kings arrive at where they are, and what's the thing with Henry VIII and the 6 wives, and how did the English Reformation happen, which has to do with Henry VIII, and the history of the World War II, different things and different treasures in the British Museum, because the British Museum has treasures from all over the world, from ancient Greece to ancient Egypt to all these things. So I would love to be your tour guide on that. And I love to explain those things to people and tell them the stories associated with these things. I know it's weird for an American to be so into this, but my family actually is from England. And so even though my family came over here to the States in the 1600s, despite that, I feel like it's still in my DNA, it's somehow England resonates in my DNA. Now, I've never had the privilege of going to Scotland or Wales. I have been to the Republic of Ireland, but there's something just about England. And I love all the other stuff on the other places, but man, just something about England. And my forefathers were actually keepers of castles for the English kings at 2 of the castles that are there. And this was back, many 800, 900 years ago. And so anyway, I'm very into it. And I would love to take people and show you these things, and of course, depending on the time of year, that depends on where you go. And also the people that sign up to go on the trip would also, I would poll people, say, okay, what's more interesting to you? Museums or castles or, shopping or whatever. The thing is, I wouldn't be able to take more than 10 people, because that's actually, or 9 or 10 is probably the most I would take. And I could take more. Here's the reason for that. Some of the places where you have to go, we would have to ride in a cab or taxi to get there, and the black cabs seat 6 people max. So I have to have either only 1 carload, 2 carloads, or 3 carloads, and I have to have one person who's experienced in London for each of those. And so I can go. My husband can go. He's very experienced in London. I could take one of my staff members, Erickson, who's also very experienced in London. Even my staff member Gunnar is extremely good at this, but he's not traveling this year. He's got some family things he's working on, just renovating a house. So he's a little busy right now. But anywho, so I probably would prefer to take no more than 9 or 10 people, although I could go up to 15 if I needed to. But we would, if we did this, we would go, and it would take, in order, I've done it with a larger group for as short as like 7 days. The problem with 7 days is it takes your body so much time, and it takes so much time to transfer to and from the hotel. So you lose, because Heathrow is outside of town. So you lose a whole day, really. Getting in, you leave the day before, you fly overnight. This is from Atlanta. You leave the day before, you fly overnight, you arrive the next day. It takes you into the rest of the afternoon to get to your hotel. And then the last day, you can't do anything. You leave usually between 12 and 3 p.m. out of Heathrow, but the whole day it takes you to get from your hotel into the airport and to your flight. So it really needs about 9 days, ideally. And of course, this also has to do with people's budget. Now, I will tell you, London is one of the most expensive cities in the world to visit. Okay, so you are looking at a decent investment. Now, this would be a once in a lifetime, maybe for some people, trip, and certainly a bucket list trip or a life goals trip. I don't want to talk about kicking the bucket, but a life goals trip for everybody that chose to go. And so you have to realize that kind of trip takes investment. The castles and museums and all of those things are not cheap to get in. The transportation to get around on the tube, and sometimes you have to use Ubers and black cabs and things like that, trains. They have a wonderful train system in the UK. I wish we had something like it in the US, but we just don't. Yeah, but, you know, and if you decided to do a day trip into Paris on the Eurostar, that takes more money. Meals are not cheap at all, okay? And it's not like you can just pop into a Taco Bell on every corner. I mean, they do have McDonald's. I've seen Burger King out in the outskirts, although not really walkable. They have a wonderful little deli called Pret, which I know my British friends might be like, no, not more Pret. But I love Pret. The U.S. doesn't have anything like that, where the food is actually fresh and reasonably cheap. So there are times that you can eat for kind of cheapish, but a lot of the times it's, even if it's not a huge meal, it's going to be expensive. And hotel is not cheap, although I have found a hotel that gives the best value I can that's next to a tube stop. So the other thing is, you have to physically not only be willing to make the investment to see the things you've dreamed about your whole life, and yes, going into Paris is a possibility, but I want you to know that if you do this kind of trip, now I can mitigate the physical activity a little bit, but I will wear you out, okay? Because here's the thing, I don't ever want anybody to go on a trip like this and say, man, I wish we had seen more. I was just bored. Now, that doesn't mean that that I will rush you every single moment. I will give you time to shop and time to do things like that. But with an escort that's on our staff, you know, we split up into groups and take you where you want to go. But even if we take it at a relaxed or a more relaxed pace, you will be exercising. You can expect to walk between, I would say, almost 10 miles a day, every day. You would be on your feet all day long. I mean, you don't understand like how huge the castles are, how huge the museums are in some cases. You know, the churches are enormous. I mean, you're walking, and then you're walking to get up and down, like in the underground stations or the tube. And there are not elevators or lifts, as our British friends call them. There are not lifts. There are occasionally lifts. But, I mean, it's almost like if I'm thinking about the tube stops we would be going in and out of in the train stations, you might find a lift 1 out of 10 or 15 times, okay? You have to be able to navigate stairs, and you have to be able to walk. And London is not flat. Now, it's not always hilly, and you can start from the top of the hill and kind of walk down the hill. That works. But now, a lot of the times in the deepest tube stations, there are usually escalators, right? So you might be riding up, 7 or 9 stories in an escalator or a series of escalators. But even when you have that, you still have stairs below it and above it, okay? So physically, you would have to be able to keep up on that kind of schedule, because I can't take a group where one person is like, hey, I think I can do it, but then you actually can't. And the rest of the group doesn't get their money's worth because we're always waiting for one person who didn't prepare, okay? So what would a trip like that cost? Looking at, and I can't promise a day trip to Paris, because that kind of thing depends on, like who signs up and what they're really passionate about. And if you sign up and you're passionate about Paris, but either the logistics don't work or the other people, there aren't enough people that want to go, we wouldn't go. So you can't, I mean, it is possible, but you can't like count on that. But you can count on things like castles, palaces. One of my favorite palaces there is Hampton Court Palace, which was the pleasure palace of Henry VIII. And also there were other kings who used it. It's just amazing, and a huge, I mean, just amazing. And they've set it up like a museum, and a lot of these places are set up like museums, so you can see like what there are descriptions and there are audio tours and all the things, so you can see and hear about what it was really like. And a lot of the times our tours have liked to do a little boat, a river cruise, where you board like a river, it's like a river taxi, except it's a big, tour boat, and you board near at Westminster, and you ride the river down to Tower Bridge, and you get off. Oh, the Tower of London, which is where the crown jewels are, which was built by William the Conqueror, I believe, pretty shortly after the invasion in 1066. Westminster Abbey, which was founded in the 900s, and which is where there have been so many royal weddings and coronations and all of that. Just incredible. I mean, it's knock your socks off, otherworldly, amazing from beginning to end, okay? So it would take, I'm saying, 8 or 9 days to really do a good job. We could do it in as little as 7, but you'd be really tired and you wouldn't see all the things you'd like to see. So if we could have 8 or 9 days, you'd do better. And then also, what would it cost? I might be able to bring it in a little under this, but really you're looking at about $7,000 per person. Now remember, that's a difference. There's a difference between that and what I would spend going to minister, because when I go to minister, I fly in, I acclimate my body, I fly out, okay? When I'm taking a tourist group though, you can expect that's what it would be, and that's out of Atlanta, and that is nonstop. We would all be on the same plane. It is possible if we're not on the same plane. I can sometimes work that out, like if you'd be flying out of, New York, JFK, or out of O'Hare, or out of LAX, or whatever, or even if you're from another country. And I actually had some of our UK friends, when I was there this last time, tell me that they would love to do a history tour like that, because they're like, well, we live here, but we never go to the castles and the palaces because we're just not taught about those things in school. So like they know that there is history, but they're not necessarily always taught it in their school years, which I was so shocked to hear, because I was thinking like, Windsor Castle, Dover Castle, all these things. I mean, this must be like the most amazing ever for them to go to. And they're like, yeah, we don't ever want to go, or we don't ever go, but they want to go. And so some of our UK friends actually might want to do this, but which of course we can adjust. If you're a UK friend and you want to spend the night in your own bed every night and just meet us bright and early, which I will tell you, every morning is bright and early. You will have breakfast and out we will go. And we would get back at a reasonably late hour, most likely. So you will get up and you will have fun all day long, and you will sleep. But we would build in some study time, and hopefully we would also build in ministry time to meet with our UK readers there, and have Bible study with everybody. So you're looking at about $7,000, and that is not unreasonable. You'd be eating 3 good meals a day. Now that's $7,000 it would cover your hotel, It would cover airfare out of Atlanta, just depending on the time of year. But hotel, airfare out of Atlanta, 3 meals a day, your attraction tickets like to the castles and the palaces and all of that, your transportation while you're there, not to the airport or from the airport, but it would be all inclusive from when you get on the plane in Atlanta to when you arrive back in Atlanta, okay? And except for things while you're there, that like souvenirs, that's at your own expense. And also, like if you just need a coffee, but it's not part of the 3 meals a day, but you just need or a pastry as we're walking by a deli and you're like, I really need a donut, or I really need some chocolate or whatever, and you just want to stop, you would need to pay for that, okay? So, well, we would cover the 3 meals a day, and what we would do is everybody would have to pay the chunk up front, because then when we're actually at the place, then we just pay for everything for you. It's much easier that way. Customer service at restaurants there does not work like it does here. Sometimes it's quite difficult to get it all going. American restaurant customer service is very, very different from European restaurant customer service, and the food there now is better. Now, I will say I've heard so many times over the years that the UK has a stereotype for bad food. I have found the opposite to be true. I think the food in the UK is 10 times better than any food that I find here, okay? It is fresh. They don't have all the nasty stuff in the food that Americans have, the preservatives, all that. They don't have that by law in many cases. It is amazing, and I just love it. And so you would be eating great food. Now, not every meal would be a sit-down meal. We don't always have time for that. We wouldn't have the budget for that. So I would mix it up, between quick meals at the deli where you have a sandwich and a croissant and whatever, versus, nice leisurely dinners where you get your lamb chop and your asparagus and your dessert or whatever. Okay. So you're looking about $7,000. It can be a little more or a little less. I would probably not do more. Honestly, I would cap it at 7. And then it would just depend on, do I have people that are interested in doing a life goals trip like that with me as your tour guide and me and my staff escorting you around, and where you believe with 100% certainty you can physically handle it, okay? And that where you want to go. And so the next question would be when? Well, this is the end of February. I want to hear from you guys, because I could do it as soon as June, July, September, October, but I feel like it just depends. Now it's cheaper in the off season. Okay. The problem is, so the off season is going to run you through like November, December, January, February. It's cheaper, but the weather's not as good. So it's cold, it's rainy. It's kind of just miserable and gray sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. But now if you're going to go March, April, May, June, July, you're going to get all the flowers. And the British, oh my goodness, are amazing at gardening. Flowers, castle gardens. I mean, it's just like a heaven. It's like a little piece of heaven. So going in those summer months gets you that. And even though the airfare is usually like twice as much, sometimes more, but that would still fit in the $7,000. And that would get you the good weather. I mean, it might still rain some, but it's going to be nice and warm. When I've been there, now the British people have told me sometimes, oh, it's hot. But okay, I live in the South in the States, right? So to me, hot is Fahrenheit, 90, 95, 100 degrees, right? Upper 80s, I'm still hot. But to me, 70, 75, 60s, that's not hot, okay? So it just depends on where you're from. So to me, with my Southern Tennessee thyroid and temperature tolerance, to me, it's never hot. It's just perfect. When you go in the early summer or even in the later summer or whatever, it's just awesome. And so I could go as early as June-ish. Now, if we were going to do June, I would have to get on the stick right now and get you guys. You'd have to sign up immediately, and I would have to get those reservations done now, because people book out a year in advance, and that's pretty normal. So we would be late as far as getting everything done. I'd have to do it fast. If we look at July, we still got to get it done. And I would rather not go into like October, November, just because it's just more pleasant for you if you're there when the weather is good. So really that means we'd be looking at June or July. So March, April, May, June. Now, if we don't have people that want to do that, then I could always plan it for next year. But if we have people that are like, I feel like this opportunity is from God. This will be a dream come true for me. I might not ever get to go again, but yes, I want to go with you. Then, hey, shoot me an email and tell me I am interested in going to London. I understand the scope of what you're talking about with the days, the walking, the the investment on your part, and tell me that you're interested, okay? Because I would love to do that for you. I'm telling you, the UK is, it just, my heart, the UK has my heart. I can't even tell you. You will fall in love. And there's so much, even revival history there. It's unreal. You will love it, okay? So if it's been your dream to go for a long time, or even a short time, even if God is speaking to you something here while we're talking about this, let me know and shoot me an email, jamie@fromhispresence.com. You have my email address, and let me know, and I will send this email or this video out to everybody and see if y'all are interested. I mean, if you're not, no big deal. But if you are, let's do it. I can always be persuaded to go. All right, and I would be doing it for you, but I know you'd love it, okay? All right, I love y'all. Let me know, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.